Usually at the end of every year, I always try to one-up myself, doing something funny or creative until the countdown strikes to 12 a.m., midnight. For the end of 2018, I did a small montage of what happened that year. Then for 2019, I was able to hit the beat exactly at midnight on the song Crab Rave. For 2020, I did the exact same thing, but I changed the beat to be a Rickroll once it struck midnight. For 2021, I ended it with the biggest accomplishments that had happened that year. And for 2022, I hosted a YouTube premiere that when the moment I snapped my fingers, it had already reached New Year's. Right now. It would switch over to midnight. This year, I'm not doing any of that. This year, we're going to have one final chat to end off 2023. And to start off, this year has possibly been the worst year for me. I know a lot of you, both new and old viewers, may question and ask, how is that possible? You had a lot of videos blow up. You were featured by other YouTubers. Yes, that is true. I am 100% aware and even 110% grateful of that. This year had been wild for my channel. But behind the scenes tell a different story. Almost every month, something just had to go wrong. But let's talk about what we did achieve. We had a vast amount of videos blow up this year, and were able to accumulate 5,000 subscribers. Videos that I had made and not expecting to blow up ended up blowing up this year. I got YouTubers to sign my play button, and even got featured in a Jack Sucks at Life video. How could have I had a terrible year? This year, I have managed to break possibly multiple world records. I do not think there has ever been a year like this where I've dropped the most amount of video projects. I am not exaggerating. I had a folder once of video ideas, either project ideas, videos that were work in progress, videos that were in the works, videos that had scripts for them, videos that were still being edited, or even videos that were 100% complete. All dropped. Just like that. Will I ever pick them back up? Probably not. It would need a lot more work than what I had already done to even consider fixing one of them. There are multiple factors, and I'm going to be putting a disclaimer here. I know it is the end of the year, and I know not a lot of people are going to be watching this. You are not forced to watch this video, and if you want to come back to this another day and celebrate this new year, then please be my guest. To new and old viewers, I'm going to be talking about serious topics and subjects in this video. While to some it won't be anything too sensitive that warrants a disclaimer, but I thought I'd still add this in here. For almost a year, I've been holding this in, and I've simply had enough of it. If you do not like negativity, then feel free to not watch this video. This video isn't asking for pity. It's simply getting everything out of my mind, because good lord, this year was something. These situations I'm going to be addressing that involve people are going to be completely anonymous. I'm going to treat this entire thing as if I were speaking to one entity. I'm going to be using phrases like you, them, their, or other words to that effect. Keep in mind that this involves more than one person. So if you are involved in this and think this is an attack on you, then you are wrong, and not everything is about you, nor will it be about you. Surprisingly, there were more than one person that completely wronged me. This year is probably a world record for me losing or dropping the amount of friends I've had. Whether it be people I thought were close, or those that I had chose to remove from my life. Either way, it still hurts. Now, this should go without saying, and the fact that I have the feeling I need to say this is quite daunting. But the way I act, the way I betray myself, the way I act on camera shouldn't be judged, nor isn't the way I act behind the camera. When I purposely make myself look goofy or do stupid shit towards myself, that isn't how I actually am. This shouldn't go without saying. I'm not a fucking idiot. I know this phrase has been done and said to death, but I purely do it for the comedic effect and to entertain people who watch my videos. Humor is subjective, I get it, but clearly, whether it be my commentary style, music, or even banter I throw around when I am with my friends, and you viewers enjoy it, it makes me happy. I know I cannot please everyone, and I shouldn't try to, but there will always be something wrong that I'm doing. But it's a different story when you claim to support me, vehemently criticize others for wronging me, and then turn around and do the exact same thing you commended. You are a fucking hypocrite. For someone I've known for ages to suddenly cut ties without explanation is baffling. If there was an issue, why not address it to me directly? I would have much rather preferred an honest conversation to clear up any misunderstanding rather than being left to guess why you chose to end our friendship so abruptly. If it's about the jokes I make or the fact I spew out video ideas I have on YouTube, which when I do those things, that means I really do trust you. I don't say a lot of video ideas a lot to people in fear that it will ruin a surprise or get out there. Or worse, someone else does it just to spite me. So when I do say a video idea I have, it's usually a good thing, and sometimes I need a third-party opinion. If it bothers you that fucking much, maybe instead of staying silent, we could, respectfully discuss this. Although it looks like you've already made your decision, choosing to cut ties rather than engage in a civil dialogue. Almost all the videos on my channel were not pre-planned. I'd mostly call it filler content if anything. One of which barely even made it out alive. My fantasy video almost became a scrapped project. I'd like to thank my friends who were able to make it. They got alarmed by it very short notice, and I am forever grateful for this last minute change. The original people who agreed to do it decided to ditch last minute. One of them decided not to come and go to a different event on the same day I was planning on filming. They knew about this project for 3 months, but still decided to fuck me over and not go, leading me to reschedule and get my childhood friends to help out, which I am super grateful for, and you do not understand how much they helped me. This was during the time where my room was getting re-renovated. I had to drive all over to my grandparents' house and stayed up until like 3 a.m. just getting the video done and uploading it. It was in a literal time crunch, and I really wish I do not have to experience something like that ever again. My main room, where I edit my videos and where my computer is at, was getting re-renovated, which meant almost everything had to be moved into my room. What was told it will only take 3 days ended up being an entire month. Plans that I originally had for projects had to be postponed or be thought differently, or had to be given a different approach. A perfect example is from my PewDiePie video. I am still not 100% proud of it. While it did contain a lot of info, I fear it was just simply too long, and I doubt anyone watched it all the way through. It also led to a big postponement of its part 1 video as well. Luckily, we were able to get it out, but behind the scenes, it was just rough. Being stuck in my room for an entire month may not sound too bad, until you factor everything had to be crammed into my room until things were getting fixed. It was very difficult. Sure, go ahead and make the argument that it's not the same as being stuck in a room. I can leave my house, but what do? Go to work and then go back to my cramped room? Because the room right next to me was being under construction? I barely slept half the time hearing them work. Since it's all complete, I still debate on whether or not this was really worth it. As you may have noticed, Almost all my videos, besides from a very select few, have been shot roughly near me or just at home. I feel like I've been stuck with nothing to do. Even when I go out and try to execute my ideas, it's practically impossible for me to do it on my own, by myself. I know it is doable, but having things a certain way to make it work is not doable on my own. I know there's going to be that select few that will tell me to just deal with it, to just make do out of a tough situation and toughen up, which I've had, and I've tried. Believe me, they ended up scrapped projects. One of which I scrapped to go to an event that I was invited to. I was asked to be given the opportunity to be a photographer for the special event that I, at least for me, thought would be nice to go to. It was relaxing to go, and I was able to see a couple of old friends too. Until it dawned on me. Now, this isn't the first time that it has happened to me, but this was the first time I believe I've witnessed it in real life on stage. I don't know how to properly word it. To put it in a broader term, it's like knowing someone for years now, thinking that you were close friends, supporting them for so long, only for them to completely, what felt like purposely, skip you out of their story. Purposely not including you in the pinpoint date of which you met. Glad to hear that the person I introduced them to made it to their story. Also, almost unrelated, we can acknowledge each other even after a falling out. Although you purposely don't want to discuss it civilly, so why am I not surprised? Instead of purposely avoiding and giving me this wannabe Luigi death stare, we can at least acknowledge the elephant in the room. It sucks what I thought were close friends, only for them to label it as a distant friend. I wish I could talk to some of my friends more. With school and work piled on top of everything, it really does make things very difficult. I hear the phrase all the time, that being, I should make time, put in the effort, this and that, etc. Whatever. That's difficult. That's easier said than done. I have really underestimated how little friends I know in real life that aren't hours away. We don't have to talk all the time for me to consider you a good friend. All my ideas that were pre-planned, everything I'd done for the future, is just a fallacy now. Considering the current state of how things are going, there is just no way I'm able to do it on my own. I've tried for almost 3 months and it went terribly. I absolutely hate how I did everything for you. I hate how I have done things just to make it easier for you. I hate how we had planned certain things only for it to be twisted backwards. You're welcome for helping you getting the place I advocated for you to stay. I know it's difficult, and sure, go ahead and say how my expectations were, quote, high. At least, well before you even dare to say, quote, too late, I eventually compromised. You wanted me to quit my current job in hopes that I can use my status to work at CBS News, which in reality probably would have never worked, even if they were owned by it or affiliated with it, just so I can go up there with you. Despite me advocating and liking your idea, you never thought of the drawbacks it would set for me. Never thought of it through my perspective. While the idea was great, executing them would have had its drawbacks on my end, but you didn't really seem to care. Like at all. Matter of fact, every idea that I had brought up to you, you would always deny it because it never aligned with your envision. Everything had to go your way to fit your narrative. While you can try and make the argument that there are videos that I want to make that I want aligned with my envision, making videos versus dealing with big real life decisions, that's quite of a big difference, don't you think? I'll let you think while I say this PSA. This may not make sense, but try to stay with me. Just because I have a different experience with a service we both use doesn't mean I am clueless about it, especially when I've been using it much longer than you have. I don't care when you said it, you still said it. You shared private conversations meant for a safe space, aiding someone else for a video that never materialized. If you really think I don't understand how it works, how about you, I don't know, actually teach me how it works then? It's unfair to blame me and my audience for not grasping an issue, which is apparently my fault, despite me very clearly demonstrating, describing, and even received an inadequate response to that was subpar at best about my issue. But I guess we're just going to ignore all of that because it wouldn't fit the narrative right. You often criticize and hate self-negativity, yet you're guilty of it too. You do it yourself. When I describe an issue or express my feelings, it's not self-deprecation. This kind of inconsistency is exactly why I'm hesitant to open up. It's the reason why I've gotten trust issues this whole year round. When I say something about a situation or information that is between only us two or between close friends that I can trust, I'd expect to trust those people to not go around sharing this information. But yet somehow, just somehow, you just cannot keep your mouth shut. You just have to gossip about it. Oh, were you able to find the answer? The answer was yes, by the way. You, for a good while, without my knowledge, talked to multiple people about our situation that I would safely assume would be meant to be private. And what I meant by, quote, assume, I mean what is supposed to be between us. Everything has to go your way. If it doesn't, you just leave the conversation and shift it as my issue rather than your issue that you started. You always say something, ask for my feedback or idea, and when I give you said feedback/idea, you completely disagree with it and deny it and tell me to stop trying to give you my input. I don't think you know what the definition of feedback or ideas is. Well, you don't know the definition of what being misogynistic is, so I am not surprised. For you to misuse that word and say that towards me, I cannot even fathom how you don't see how that's not disrespectful. And worst case scenario, defamatory. I have supported you, and I've done a lot for you. Me explaining my concerns or my reasonings as to why what you bring to the table or say to me is bad is not me being a misogynist. My concerns and reasonings as to my disagreement isn't because you're a woman, it's because your reasonings back and logic is fucking shit. How is that fair? Also, stop asking money from me. Which also reminds me, stop telling people I'm going to purchase items for you. Stop telling people that I bought this or bought that for you. Just because I said I am willing to help you does not equate nor mean that I'm going to purchase it for you. I can help you try and reach your end goal, but at the end of the day, I am basically helping you go to the right directions instead of fucking holding your hand and letting you leech off me. I feel tired of helping people only for them to completely pull a 180 on me. There's only so much I can do. I cannot consistently talk to someone to make them stop. I cannot constantly monitor every move that they have taken. It comes to a point where you need to start messaging them yourself. It comes to a point where you need to stop relying on me. If this was only a couple of occasions, sure, I'd be willing. But it has happened more often than not that you need to fucking do it yourself. You go talk to them. I do not care if you dislike them. I already did what I can do. You go and talk to them privately. Although, I feel like if you did go talk to them privately, you would share it around your friend group. So either way, it's still a lose-lose situation. By the way, were you able to answer the second question? The answer was, it isn't. Oh, and let me put this out here. Now, before I start, I 100% understand that you want to defend your friend. After all, you never experienced any negative connotation with that person. You've been around them longer than you've known me. even if I knew them longer than you have, you still haven't been around me for the same duration as your friend. So I would understand why you would want to defend your friend during conflict. But let me just put this PSA, if you would. If you see that your friend is under some hot water that has nothing to do with you, only between two parties, then please, with all due respect, shut the fuck up. You have nothing to do with it. Don't get yourself involved, and certainly do not speak for them under their behalf. I do not care if you're there to, quote, defend them. It does not make you nor the person you're defending look any better, especially since I never had anyone go to you and talk under my behalf. Know your fucking place? That being to fuck off. It would be one thing if you had to let all of this out and talk to someone. Sure, you can make wiggle room or attempt to make an argument, but there's no excuse telling almost every single family member or friend about it, and then have them talk under your behalf and advocating that behavior. Sure, let's humor the idea that you didn't have them talk under your behalf. You didn't know they talked under your behalf. Well, you sure didn't give a shit nor do anything when you got themselves involved. Or so it seemed. And let me emphasize again. Shut the fuck up. You're not making the situation better, and you're only hurting the person you're defending than actually, quote, helping. And I am using that word very loosely here, which is ironic here, because this reminds me of another thing. You say that these people, quote, don't hate me, but that isn't the problem here, despite the fact their actions say otherwise. The fact that they know about the situation is like the problem here. You told them behind my back. Also, I do not believe the argument that you did it for a quote-unquote unbiased opinion, considering that they know you longer than they know me. And also, how can I trust you that you just didn't fabricate a story? This is why I can't trust you. And the fact that you show no remorse for that really says a lot about you. You don't care. Stop saying that you do. You purposely decided to take a quote-unquote break after fucking me over just so you can make this shitty argument of, oh, I am just trying to take care of myself. What, am I not allowed to do that? Just because I'm trying to do that doesn't mean I don't care. No. I know what you're fucking doing. It's funny because I know I've said this before, and I'll say this again as well. This applies to a lot of people. And that's, just because I am friends with someone you dislike does not make me equally as bad as they are. Hate because association is dumb. You purposely fabricated a letter to me because I was friends with someone that you didn't like. You went out of your way to tell a lot of big creators and people with a big influence to block me because you didn't like me. Because you made these assumptions about me and my friends. My quote group that you love to say. People who worked in the game industry or prominent. I'm not going to say who or what, but the fact that you did that is crazy to me. And abuse of power. All because of what? I was friends with someone you disliked? Grow the fuck up. Okay, but sure. You want someone to talk to. I get that. What's stopping you from getting professional help? Oh? You don't want to talk to someone every month or have the patience to wait every month? Well, you do know that you can schedule them how you like, right? Don't believe me? I gave it a shot myself. No, I didn't do what you would do and shit talk and gossip about the situation, but I genuinely set it up an appointment for every 2 weeks or every week in general. Sure, it didn't last that long, but you can definitely make it work and be flexible. Oh, what's this? You can't because you have such a busy schedule? Oh, well now that just sounds like excuses to me. That's not my problem. But you're going to somehow make it my problem due to your actions that you started. This one's going to hurt. There's a difference between intentional and unintentional. When I accidentally do something, it is unintentional. I can take accountability and responsibility for it if that makes you fucking happy. This can apply if I forgot something or forgot to do something, while you intentionally do something and put the blame onto me, taking zero accountability. This can also apply to the reasons I said earlier. When you leave something behind intentionally, that is your responsibility. While I was kind enough to keep it in the exact same place that you asked, make the argument, go ahead and say it, that it was under my care because it was at my house. But it was also your responsibility to take your items that were yours. Like I said, I at the very least took responsibility for what I had accidentally left behind. But the more reasons you kept bringing up as to why you couldn't return my items started sounding more like excuses. I do want to say that luckily, as time went on throughout this year, a lot of people started unblocking me. Mainly due to people forgetting why they did. Some tell me that they were told to. It's stupid how great lengths you went to tell so many people about me. You don't fucking know me. All you know about me is that I am friends with someone that you hate. You couldn't even fucking talk to me like an adult without throwing a temper tantrum in DMs. And then you go out of your way to message one of my closest friends. Granted, you had no idea that they were close friends, but you still did this. You messaged them asking for free art in exchange for free exposure, which is just hilarious to me. I'm not going to dunk on you for that. I don't care about that. But it's quite funny how you do that, then out of nowhere proceed to bash them for not accepting your request when you start looking at their profile finally and took, quote, 3 seconds or, quote, 5 seconds to find out that they were friends with me. You proceeded to block them. How petty. January. February. March. 12 months later. It has been an entire year, and I still do not have my items. I still do not have my items that you said you would return. Even after giving you payment. You couldn't even get your own stuff. You had your family member do it for you while I was at work. And the moment you got your shit back, you then complained to me on how they somehow got damaged. I am on really thin ice right now. While it is reasonable for you to get upset, no matter what I told you on what could have possibly happened, you refused to listen, but you were too fixated on wanting immediate replacements. You held my items hostage and refused to get my shit back in order to get what you want. So I did it. There were technical difficulties after I had made the replacements. You claim they never went to your place. While I provided proof while I was at work, the HTML web page wasn't displaying things accurately, which is why you saw a, quote, typo on the page and not what was really there. I sent you a video about it, but I only assume you refused to listen to it, let alone watch it. There are so many projects that I've done with friends or collaborations in general. There are some projects that I need some help with. I'm glad and happy that they were willing to help. But man, I've learned that if you give them too much power, too much control over the project or idea, when things go south, they can easily just get rid of everything in a snap. Whether it be intentional or not, it could have nothing to do with me, but the obstacles that they were facing. There have been situations where that has happened. An idea sparked, we execute the idea, but then something on their end happens out of frustration and shuts down the whole operation. One of which is still happening. It's probably why we never had a finale. Always keep a backup of everything. You never know when you might lose it. You don't know what you have until it's all gone. You make these decisions by forcefully not talking to me or even blocking me. That when it comes to me ignoring you, not wanting to deal with you, that makes me the bad person. Then you give yourself a pat on the back months later once you do want to talk to me, saying how it was worth it and how it was good that we did it. As if this was a mutual two-way party idea. No remorse whatsoever. You do not care. You don't care for the fact that I try to fix my mistakes this year. Either for my own good, or for my channel, or even for you. You just complain. Say that I barely did the bare minimum of fixing my mistakes. You're not grateful for what I tried to do. Because you're never the wrong one. You're always right. It's never enough for you. To you, apparently I couldn't do the bare minimum. Which is ironic. Because you couldn't drive down here to get your stuff and my stuff. You couldn't meet at least halfway. You couldn't even mail my items back. You had a family member drive to my place while I was at work just so you can get your stuff back. You didn't even give them my stuff so when they arrive at my place, I would be able to have my items while you got yours. You couldn't do the very bare minimum. I don't see you fucking trying. Go ahead. Make excuses that you were busy. Go ahead and say you have a busy schedule. So do I. And let's not forget how dreadful of a year this has been for me on at least one of my channels. For good old argument's sake, my channel had only gotten monetized once after 3 years of losing it. YouTube persists that my content is, quote, reused content, but allows content that is, by literal definition of the reused content, having ads. On top of that, refusing to unsuspend me malicious. You can make the argument that there has to have been at least one video that led to the termination of the channel. But I do not buy that argument. My channel had a very clean record, and I might make a full dedicated video talking about it. Because the length YouTube are taking on what seems to be censoring that particular channel into becoming reinstated is absurd and appalling. That is, for a lack of better words. More or less, the tactics on trying to contact YouTube on that channel is near impossible. But hey, apparently I don't know how it works, so instead of teaching me, I'm going to screenshot no contexted images and share it to one of my friends and hope a video would be made. After all, you believed everything they said with no evidence on their end, right? Amazing. The one time I don't joke about it, the one thing I don't mention, turns out to be the most accurate description to visually use it. The one thing I thought was over since 2019 or 2020. It's crazy that years later, I'm still on a downward spiral. You are a liar. You are a manipulator, a fraud, a scammer. You ruined it. You were the one that cut it off. You are so money hungry that you went to the people you hate and asked for money. Granted, they didn't know it was you, and I for certain absolutely hate them with a burning passion as well. But man, that's surprising. It went to Wisconsin. Stop asking me for money. Go fucking ask your boyfriend for money. Sure, you may have gotten the last laugh, but it was less than $750. At least this one was a one-time payment. You know, it's really funny. It really is funny. If this were to happen to anyone else, and you know who, you would have 110% have been on my side and agreed with every point I just made. But the fact that it isn't, the fact that it's you, oh no, you're never wrong. You're always the one that's correct. I've realized that I've apologized. I've cut myself short. I've felt terrible. I've done or tried to make it up. I have apologized so much. You never once apologize. Not once. Never. Bad things are easy to do. Good things take effort, apparently. I know it's been quite negative around here, so let's switch things over to being positive for a moment. Throughout this very tough year, I would at least like to thank my friends who have stuck with me. While I've been keeping everyone anonymous, let me make it very clear. It's not all about you. Believe it or not, more than one person did the same actions that you did. Hard to believe because you don't know, but it has happened. With that being said, there is one person I would like to thank that helped me throughout this entire year. Technically two, but one of them just hasn't uploaded a whole lot. But it's understandable, and I don't expect them to. But the other YouTuber has. I don't want this to come off as parasocial, not at all. I respect them and their boundaries. I just enjoy the content that they made that had helped me forget about it, or at least helped me out throughout these tough times. That YouTuber is Jack Sucks at Life. With his consistent uploads across different channels, I can barely do that, and I only have one standing right now. I know he may get this a lot, considering his large following, but throughout this entire fiasco, this entire year, his consistent upload and me watching them just really helped me throughout these times. It kind of sounds embarrassing to say, but it's true. I'm not going to beat around the dead bush, so I'll end it here. But just know, I appreciate him a lot. I've learned a lot. I really have. I'm glad this horrendous year is over. I'd take this more into an expensive life lesson. After all, that's life. That's what all the people say. You're riding high in April, shot down in May. But I know I'm going to change that June when I'm back on top. Back on top in June. Because I said,
that's life.
That's life.
That's what all the people say. You're riding high in April, shot down in May. But I know I'm gonna change that tune. When I'm back on top in June. I said that's life.
That's life.
And as funny as it may seem, some people get their kicks stomping on a dream. But I don't let it get me down. 'Cause this fine old world, it keeps spinning around. I've been a puppet, a pauper, a pirate, a poet, a pawn and a king. I've been up and down and over and out, and I know one thing. Each time I find myself flat on my face, I pick myself up and get back in the race. That's life.
That's life.
I tell ya, I can't deny it. I've thought of quitting, baby, but my heart just ain't gonna buy it. And if I didn't think it was worth one single try, I'd jump right on a big bird and then I'd fly. I've been a puppet, a pauper, a pirate, a poet, a pawn and a king. I've been up and down and over and out, and I know one thing. Each time I find myself laying flat on my face, I just pick myself up and get back in the race. That's life. That's life, and I can't deny it. Many times I've thought of cutting out, but my heart won't buy it. But if there's nothing shaking coming this here July, I'm gonna roll myself up in a big ball and die. My.
2024 is gonna be something. Only difference is, I'm willing to prepare you guys for it when I wasn't. I'm not sorry.